Hi, this is Anna Imagination, and today, at this moment, we are going to take a minute to talk about the subconscious mind, sabotage, and guilt. This came out when I was covering today, just now, the self care cocoon. And there are many, many people who probably are experiencing guilt whenever they sit down with self care. So I'm going to go ahead and jump the gun and I'm going to talk about the emotion guilt, what it is, where it comes from, and how to use it. Guilt is 100% a third party induced emotion. It is 100% a foreign object. It does not exist in your system. It should not exist in your system. The reason why it's there is because somebody deliberately manipulated your perspective to embed a toxic belief into your belief system. The belief is a fear of rejection. Oh, that's about it. That's it. It's a fear of abandonment, a fear of rejection, a fear of losing your belonging. That's it, which is what a fear of rejection is. We have the knowing, we have the belonging, and we have the authority. These are the three elements that I will be covering in week 7. I talk a lot about these, and I will be elaborating a lot later on at the end of this course. The authority, or I'm sorry, the knowing is you knowing who you are, you having your coordinates and you knowing who you are. The belonging is knowing your place in community and your place in a society. It is your social home, basically. And then there is the authority, which is your power to, it's literally the power that you command for yourself. So we're going to focus a little bit on the belonging. When you are dealing with guilt, basically your belonging has been threatened. You have a place that you belong. You have a home. You have a community. You have an environment. You have social people who accept you. And we have this very old, archaic thought, this concept that there is safety in belonging. So we associate people with safety. This is, again, very old. I'm talking Ice Age old. And the subconscious mind, 100%, is an archaic robot that exists from the Ice Age. So, of course, people equals safety is going to be part of its programming. I roll. Because it's left over from the Ice Age. That's no longer the case, but it's left over from the Ice Age. And in most cases, that particular safety program was used as a weapon against us. Guilt is weaponized fear. Guilt is weaponized fear. Do I have to say much after this? Like, that's it. When you realize that your guilt was weaponized against you, get angry. Like, get angry. You should be angry. Getting angry, allowing yourself that anger that somebody used and weaponized your fear against you as a means to control you should be making you angry. And that's good. Anger is a healthy emotion. Anger is the emotion that says the defense system is waking up. That is a big deal because your defense system has been down for so long. So when it's finally waking up, that's huge. Absolutely accept your anger, allow it, because guilt is somebody literally using your fear as a weapon against you. Your fear has been weaponized. You had a fear of losing people, and people meant safety. You had a fear of losing your safety. That's what guilt is. So every time you feel guilty, it's because you feel threatened. You feel like you're going to lose, you're going to be rejected, you're going to be abandoned. Somebody is going to stop loving you. So you feel guilt. You've been programmed to feel guilt if you don't obey because they linked your behavior to conditional love. Well, I'll tell you what, it's not love. Conditional love, yeah. Being needed is conditional love. Being used is conditional love. When you define love by being needed, when you define love by needing other people, that's conditional love. I love you only under the condition that I can use you. Real love is unconditional. That's how you tell the difference. That is exactly how you know it's the difference. Because conditional love is only there if a person can use you or if you can use another person. That's conditional love. It isn't love at all. It's being needed or it's needing another person. And that isn't need. That is another way of saying, I'm using you. That's conditional love. So when somebody threatens your safety, they're actually using conditional love against you with a caveat that says, do as I say, allow me to use you, or else I'm going to reject you. That's guilt. That's what's been done to you. To handle guilt, throw it away. It isn't yours. The people who gave you that caveat, okay, I don't know how to say the word caveat. I don't. I'm not going to, I read it in a book many times. That's how I know how to say the word caveat. And I cannot pronounce the word. Yeah, I can read it a million times over, but I can't pronounce the word because I have no idea what it sounds like. So I don't know, because it's a word I know only by reading about it. So the people who gave you this term, the people who gave you these conditions under the caveat that they will only use you, they will only love you if they can use you. So now it's very much going right to that toxic belief that they put inside of you. If I don't do X, if I take care of myself, then my mother's not going to love me. If I don't take care of myself, or if I do take care of myself, if I take time away from anyone else, then that's selfish. Selfish is that's a nasty word with me. The word selfish came into existence in the year 1623. It was in a book that was published that absolutely enforced the patriarchy. The word selfish came into existence in the year 1623. It is not a thing of the Bible. It is 100% a man-made concept to manipulate and control other people so they can be used by other people. It is 100% a bully word that allows users to control them. And every time I've heard the word selfish, it is always in the context that person A is trying to control person B by using them. And if you don't allow them to use you, then you are called selfish. So in my opinion, the term selfish means someone who refuses to allow another person to use them. That is what selfish means. That is exactly how it is used. So stop looking it up in the dictionary. Stop going out to everybody else and hearing what other people throw out there. Psychologically speaking, that is actually 100% what is being done. Selfish means you won't let me use you. Now, that is your relationship with guilt. That is what your subconscious mind is doing with guilt. So every time you sit down and you take time for yourself, it is this concept. It is somebody stepping in saying, you're not letting me use you. I'm going to take my love away. The real focus is who isn't going to love you? Whose love is going to be taken away? We're going to change that a little bit because it's not the word love, it's attention. We love using the word love for the word visibility, acceptance, and attention. It is being seen. So, who said that to you? Who at some point said or completely acted upon the concept that if you are taking time away for yourself, who is not seeing you? Who has threatened to take away your visibility? Who are you afraid of losing and upsetting if you take time away for yourself? Because that is the real fear. That is the real conflict. That is the person who abused you with the concept of conditional love, using you, and using guilt to weaponize your own safety against you. That's what guilt is. The best way, twofold, literally give yourself permission to not need that emotion anymore because it's not yours. It's not part of your working system. Give yourself permission to throw away the guilt. Now, the only conflict that you might have with that is the limiting belief. If I don't do X, then somebody is not going to accept me. I will lose this person if I do X. That is self-honesty. Who are you going to lose if you take time for your own self-care? Who are you afraid of losing? Whose approval is at risk? That's the toxic belief you need to challenge. That's the toxic belief right there. Now, to get rid of a toxic belief, I cover that. That's going to be week 4 to week 6. It's basically a philosophical dialogue. Literally, it is a full philosophical dialogue. If you are in a point where you are legitimately stumped over this, ask me. I will probably record a video later when it becomes a demand, and I will have okay, this is going to be an emergency guilt walkthrough or an emergency toxic belief guilt walkthrough. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm going to write myself a little note here, and I'll just do it. So I will eventually write up an emergency limiting belief video. That way you can immediately jump in and start tackling limiting beliefs before we get to week 4 or week 5. But in order to do that, you need your self-care cocoon. But I can also understand how it's a catch-22 because you need your grounding and your energy and you need your safe place. But you've got this limiting belief that's constantly there. So guilt is basically a self-sabotage. That is your subconscious mind going against that frequency, going, oh my God, it isn't safe to take care of yourself. Because it's only safe if we focus on the master, if we only focus on the person who's in charge. So that is something that you are probably up against when you experience guilt, is your subconscious mind has basically received the toxic belief that it isn't safe to focus on yourself. So that should cover everything. If you don't have a problem with the toxic belief and if it's easy for you to throw that out, this is where it's cognitive behavioral therapy. It's just repetitive discipline. That emotion does not serve me. Guilt does not serve you. So morning meditations, add that as a mantra. This is going to be additional homework if you struggle with guilt. Additional mantra. Guilt does not serve me. Guilt does not serve me. I release all of my guilt. That's not me. That's my mother, or that's my father, or that's my husband. I don't need guilt. Doesn't serve me. I don't need guilt. I am safe. I am accepted. I am visible. I am loved. I am seen. I don't need their approval. I don't need them to see me. I am seen. And I am going to reject that emotion. I don't need guilt. Guilt does not belong to me. For me, I imagine, okay, so this is the fun part. I'm going to mention this a lot. So in my brain, I've got the entire cast of Rick and Morty. I've got Jerry, who's the fear system. I've got Rick, who is the subconscious mind, who is completely in charge of the cognitive core. I had Mr. Nimbus. Mr. Nimbus was the narcissist who had Rick collared, and he was malfunctioning him at the cognitive core while he was actually in control of Jerry. And Beth was my identity. And the whole thing was done to keep Beth safe. But Rick couldn't keep her safe because Mr. Nimbus was in charge and he was running the whole operation. Yeah, that so and guilt was just the Homer Simpson's kid in my fridge eating food out of my fridge. He didn't even belong here. So I was like, why is the Simpsons kid in my Rick and Morty metaphor? I'd get the hell out and I would send him home. And literally, it got to a point where it was so funny. If this is an analogy that works for you, please take it. I love it so much. Which is actually, you're going to hear me refer to the fear system so much as Jerry. It's hilarious because this is where it all started. I was watching Rick and Morty one day. It was the Citadel of Ricks episode. And in the first 2 minutes, Rick A and Morty A walk in and shoot Morty B in the head, and they kidnap Rick B. And while all of this is going on, this is over breakfast, Jerry goes, oh my God, what's happening? And he panics and he freaks out, and it's hilarious. And I just went, oh my God, my fear system is Jerry. Who put that dipshit in charge of my brain? And I realized that my entire subconscious mind was functioning off of Jerry. That was all the motivation I needed to kick my subconscious mind's ass. That's actually what started all of it, is when I realized that the fear system was Jerry. Yeah, I wasted no time fixing my brain. And because I was Jerry's little bitch, and that was humiliating. So that's the setup that I have. I've got Rick, who is my subconscious mind, and he's running the cognitive core, and his whole thing is protect Beth. I've got the fear system freaking out and hitting every button it can find. And then I've got Mr. Nimbus going, I am Mr. Nimbus, and he's controlling Jerry while he is subduing Rick with a collar. And I've got Beth, who's completely crammed down in the fourth level of the subconscious mind because she's been scorched into pieces. And then I've got this Homer Kid Simpson kid eating in the fridge, just telling me his opinion on everything. Going, oh, well, you shouldn't do that. Oh, and he's just there to make me feel bad. And I'm like, why are you here? Why are you in my metaphor? Go home. So I developed this time period in my life where for several weeks, it was just sending him home. No, every time I felt the emotion, guilt. No, go home. Just go home. You don't even belong here. Go home. Just go home. And that really did a lot to put in perspective all of the players of my brain and who I needed to work with and how I needed to get rid of Mr. Nimbus. Mr. Nimbus is the narcissist that's implanted itself into your brain to control the whole operation. And he's the overbearing security guard who insists everything is done his way. I talk you through how to kick out Mr. Nimbus also. And then we calm and we soothe Jerry. That's what identity is for. We bring Beth back. Beth comes out, and Beth calms and soothes Jerry. And then Rick knows what he needs to do. Rick just kind of let all shit hit the fan because that's what Rick does. And so Rick basically works the cognitive core like a proper machine, and everything's all fine. So we just got to keep Beth safe. So yeah, every time you feel guilt, send it home. Imagine it being the unwanted neighbor's kid who's always in your fridge eating your food, and he never seems to go home. Like, why are you here? Go home. So we're going to get into the practice of sending guilt home, because guilt has no place being in your brain. It's not part of you. It's the one bit that is literally nothing to do with you. It is the intrusive third-party emotion. And it comes specifically from a branch off of the fear system. So it's basically it's Jerry's best friend. It's Jerry's best friend from a different episode that doesn't even belong there. So that is really get into the habit of every time you feel guilt, send it home. And if you have a limiting belief that you have to overcome, I will be getting that emergency limiting belief video to you so you can cover that. That should cover your perspective, your subconscious mind sabotage today on guilt. And that should free you up so that you can sit down and build your self-care cocoon. And if you end up battling that emotion, guilt, again, just keep sending it home. Keep sending it home. I don't need you. And then, if you need the emergency limiting belief video, immediately let me know and I'll jump right on and get that recorded. because I don't know when I'm going to get to that. It depends on my schedule and a few other things. It's not prioritized. Say something, let me know, and if it's prioritized, I'll put it to the top of my list. And everybody else, once it's made, it'll be made available. So I think that's it. And then the next video I have coming up is perspective psychology, and then also self-honesty. I think I'm going to cover self-honesty next, and then depending upon my tired level, I'll get into perspective psychology. And I can tell you already, I'm way too tired to get into perspective psychology because that is a big topic. So I'm probably going to do perspective psychology tomorrow. So today I'm just going to do self-honesty, and then I'm going to wrap it up. So, and this is, again, this is a lot of information, and you have a reading list. And I also have that outline, the day-to-day outline, the 8 and 12 weeks, day-to-day, what to expect, what you can do, and all your assignments. So, okay, we are all set. Thank you so much. And again, I'm available via text, email, or DM if you need me. Thank you.